Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. I'm back, feeling about 90% myself, and just to everybody over the past 2 weeks, thank you for your understanding, patience, thoughts, and prayers. Greatly appreciate it. First up today, in case you missed Tesla Daily last night, we all need to keep what Elon said at the forefront of our minds going forward. Be careful with unnamed sources. And even though Elon said that in response to the Indonesia reporting from yesterday, that doesn't have to mean that specifically was false. Because today, a senior minister said negotiations between Indonesia and Tesla are still ongoing. We don't get much though. From an actual source, Luhut Panjaitan said, "I can't comment, we're still talking." And we know Indonesia has been working hard to court new EV investments to the area, and Hyundai, GM, Wuling have all already built assembly plants in the area, and battery makers LG, CATL, Foxconn, and BASF all have expressed interest in making batteries in the area. And if you've been following the channel for any amount of time, you'll know that a decent amount of articles nowadays do use unnamed sources. It's kind of just how the world is working right now. So whenever we run into this, I'll do my absolute best to provide some context and insight. All of that is a perfect segue for this one as we get new reports from Bloomberg. Tesla China plant expansion is now being delayed. Before we even get into this article, in my opinion, a year from now, this will ultimately be a major nothing burger. Maybe it's temporarily delayed, but it seems like just something Tesla is going to have to work out with the Chinese government, calm their fears, and then they'll move forward as planned. But with all of the short sellers and people in China that are upset with Tesla, we should expect some narratives coming out and coming from unnamed sources that are going to be negative toward Tesla. With that disclaimer, the expansion they're talking about would be phase 3 that would take production capacity from around 1 million units per year up to around 2 million. And this supposed delay has really nothing to do with Tesla and everything to do with Starlink. There are apparently some government officials that have concerns over Elon Musk being involved with Tesla. And he's also, of course, the head honcho of Starlink as well. And Beijing has become increasingly concerned about data security. You may remember back in 2021, Tesla cars were already banned from military complexes in China due to sensitive data gathering concerns. Tesla did then what I imagine they're going to do now. They worked with the local government, did what needed to be done, and then they moved forward according to plan. So last year, in response, Tesla basically opened up a data center in China to store all of the data that Tesla is gathering in China to comply with the Chinese laws. So again, I would imagine Elon will talk to the government authorities and figure everything out, and then they'll proceed with this expansion when the time is right and everybody is on the same page. And part of why I think this will ultimately turn out to be nothing is because Starlink was created around 2014 and they were actually launching satellites in 2019 before the first Gigafactory in Shanghai was even built. So obviously the government knew about Elon and Starlink and all of those concerns before the first factory. So yes, of course now Tesla's bigger, Starlink is bigger, tensions between America and China may be bigger, but ultimately, I have confidence Tesla and the team will work it out. We have Drive Tesla Canada reporting that some BYD reservation holders have been canceling to go and buy a Tesla after the price reductions. Now, this first blurb here talking about a study was done by a local source saying that Tesla stores were receiving 500% more foot traffic after the price cuts. I wouldn't be very confident about that, but that same organization is reporting that the Model Y is getting most of the attention, which checks out because it was the 2 Model Y variants that had the wait times increased. But we have a BYD salesperson noting that many buyers with reservations came to the store to cancel their orders and transfer to Tesla, saying the most affected models were the BYD Seal and the BYD Han, which compete directly with the Model 3. And I've said before, I respect BYD. They make good cars at good prices with good technology. But I've also said whenever Tesla slides into that price range, you already know what I think is going to happen. And this right here is really a great foreshadowing of what I think is going to happen whenever Tesla comes out with a new compact, more affordable vehicle for that market. In a Chinese update, Tesla has released a new text input method where you can actually use your finger and draw. This is very quick, so watch closely. So here it is again at 0.25 speed. And what do you think? Is this something that you would like to see in your Tesla? With this update, Tesla also added WeChat, which is like the everything app in China and kind of what Elon has said he wants to turn Twitter into in the future. And oftentimes, features that arrive first in China do later make it to other global markets as well. All right, so now I'm in the Netherlands configurator, and you can see the Midnight Cherry color now has delivery dates expected between June and August of 2023. But you should know this is only available for the long range and the performance. So far, the standard rear wheel drive Model Y only has the red multi-coat, not the Midnight Cherry. So yes, this Midnight Cherry is gorgeous in my opinion, but it's not cheap. It's actually around $3,400 US. And for everyone in North America with their fingers crossed that we get this paint color, I personally would not get your hopes up. Giga Berlin so far is the only factory with this advanced paint shop, and there is no indication that Tesla has plans to bring that to current factories in North America, maybe future ones, but even that is just speculation. I just wanted to share this screenshot where it says right here, strong winds forecasted from the north. I'm not saying this is a brand new feature, but I did see on social media today a lot of people had never seen this before, so I wanted to pass it along. And we know that in the future, Tesla will continue to implement more weather features and updates with their navigation and UI, which everybody I'm sure will love to see. This is just a fun fact from The Guardian, but they're saying that Elon Musk has broken the world record for the greatest amount of personal fortune lost. I've always said that paper wealth, or the amount in your accounts, is fairly silly because it's not really yours until you sell it and lock it in. But either way, just a quick fun fact for those interested. I would also just add real quick that all of these wealth figures you see online, I think most of them are not accurate at all. Yesterday, we talked about that Australian bus depot setting the blueprint for the future. Well, here's another one. So South Australia, keep it up. Wind and solar contributed just over 85% of the state's electricity demand for the month of December. This was comfortably a new monthly record. McConnell, an energy systems analyst in New South Wales, said renewable energy contributed almost 80% of South Australia's demand for the entire quarter. And how about this one? Did you guys see this? Now, I'm not exactly sure if we'll ever see this in production. They're not going to make an Ioniq 5, which is the car in the video, with this as far as I know. They were just using that vehicle to display this technology. So of course, for parallel parking, this would be super useful. I don't know if it would increase or decrease the stability or driving dynamics, make it better or worse, but it was enjoyable to watch, so I had to at least pass it along. Let me know what you guys think. Here's a blurb from an email that Elon sent to employees at Twitter. He said that he would be available for Twitter meetings after finishing most of my Tesla work. So if you're somebody who's been worried about how Elon is spending his time, I would just say personally, I don't think you have to worry about it, but just my .02. Some of you know I'm a sucker for drone videos and specifically time lapses, so here was a good one of the Megapack system in Boulder City, Nevada at night. The drum beats for different aircraft, including Starlink, has been increasing, and in response to this tweet, Elon said, Starlink in aircraft feels the same as a high-speed connection on the ground. I've personally always loved flying even without the internet, but to add the internet to that experience, it's gonna be nice. Listen up, for this one, I think reading between the lines is going to be critical. In an email sent to Canadian Q4 e-tron reservation holders, Audi has said that heat pumps will be eliminated from production beginning in February this year. All Q4 e-trons built after that date will instead have resistive heaters. Audi's going to provide a $1,000 credit, and they said the change is for an indeterminate period. In the email, Audi said the reason was continuing semiconductor supply constraints. Now, listen. Tesla sells all of its vehicles with heat pumps, and they sell a lot more electric vehicles than Audi sells Q4s. But Tesla has had no problems with getting the semiconductors for their heat pumps, so why is Audi? The reason is most of these legacy ICE automakers are using outdated semiconductors. They're typically using a bigger nanometer process, upwards of 50 plus, where a lot of the newer technology, and Tesla, who has the ability and the software developers to change things around and use the newer chips, Legacy Auto does not have the same software talent, so they can't just rewrite the code and use these newer chips. They're still stuck in the old, outdated systems, specifically these older legacy semiconductor chips. As the demand for those older chips goes down because most of these new EVs require the newer semiconductor chips, these legacy companies want to pay the same price for the newer chips as they were for the older obsolete chips, but they can't really commit to the volume that they have in the past because they don't know how many EVs they're going to sell with these new chips. So in my opinion, that's what's really going on in this case. Yet another example of Tesla being a league above. Very good news for Lucid. I really do hope they make it through this recession. They just reported 3,493 vehicles produced in Q4, up 53% over Q3. For the year, 7,180 cars produced. Their guidance was 6,000 to 7,000, so they beat their guidance. Financial results for Lucid for Q4 will be Wednesday, February 22nd. This morning, I came across this post from When Moon Sun on Reddit going over everything Megapacks, the history, margins, the industry, Tesla. It was honestly incredible and very dense with information. I started to summarize it to give you guys bullet points, but as I went through it, I just said it's something that if you're interested, you should just read it. So I took a screen recording. I'll give you about 3 seconds for each part where you can pause the screen and read it for yourself if you would like. If that doesn't work for you, the full thing will be linked below, but I would highly encourage you to take 10 or so minutes to read it at some point. Here we have an update on Porsche for 2022. Basically flat sales, up 2.6% year over year, delivering 309.8 thousand vehicles in 2022. But I found it interesting that in North America, Porsche sales were flat, and in China they were actually down, so their growth is really coming from emerging markets and in Europe. Most importantly though, I think was this line right here. Porsche's Taycan saw a 23% drop in sales to 7,271 units for the year. This number is of course just United States sales, but the Taycan did see a 16% drop globally. And of course, they're pointing the finger at supply chain bottlenecks and limited component availability. Porsche did release a new hype video. It's about 1 minute long for the upcoming Macan EV. So I just wanted to play a few seconds of it for you. Basically, it's like what we see from Tesla. So Porsche doing something similar. Nothing really groundbreaking in the video, but there was some cool footage, so wanted to share it. This one is interesting. So this is from ABC News, and we have a US official warning of the risks posed by EVs because they are heavier and more performance-based. Basically arguing that they accelerate quicker, which makes them more dangerous. Here's where it gets interesting. The official that said this is none other than Jennifer Homendy. If you're new to Electrified, you may not know that historically Jennifer Homendy has kind of had it out for Tesla over the years. She's criticized Tesla in the past, saying that their safety features are misleading, which, okay, whatever, I understand why you could try to argue that. Although I do think arguing that is actually misleading because the data says that Tesla's safety features do indeed make the roads safer than not having them. She's posted Twitter threads criticizing Tesla. She's also been quoted as saying, "I refuse to go down the path of even reading, acknowledging, or responding to any criticism because I feel like it's really the safety issues at hand we need to be talking about." Well, that may be a fun way to frame it, Jen, but respectfully, you basically just said you're not going to listen to Tesla or any informed Tesla person who actually knows what's going on with the autopilot system and the safety of those features. So you get the point. Basically, she's out there saying she's all about safety, but yet she's criticizing and publicly attacking the most safety-forward company when it comes to making vehicles. The data says Tesla is flat out the safest auto company. Ask any of the safety rating agencies that continue to give Tesla all of the safety accolades. Now, in fairness, with that disclaimer out of the way, what she's arguing is at least worthy of having a conversation about. So she's just saying that these EV vehicles are on average about 33% heavier than their gasoline counterparts. So when they're in a collision, it could mean more damage. She also argues that EVs typically accelerate faster than ICE vehicles, which is true, but I would add that could also save you from or avoid an accident, being able to get out of the way or to move lanes or to move quickly if you're paying attention. And from what I read, most accidents actually happen because of a lack of driver attention. It's not because people are accelerating fast that are causing the problems. It's people not focusing on the road. So, I mean, honestly, it's kind of one of those where you can pick your data points and then argue your side, but trying to be objective, where do you guys fall on this topic? For me personally, it would still be a no-brainer that EVs are the clear way forward. It's just a simple matter of the pros drastically outweighing the cons, especially when you compare them to ICE vehicles and all of the cons associated with those. But that's just me. Here we have the 2024 Jaguar I-Pace, and I'll be honest, I've been disappointed with the I-Pace's sales performance so far. It's really not a car that many people are excited about. And I'm just not sure this new 2024 version will be enough of a change. We're looking at a 90 kilowatt hour battery and in the neighborhood of 250 miles of EPA range. And sadly, we don't yet have any pricing for the United States market. That'll do it for today. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Please like the video if you did, and a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.